This morning we're going to be thinking about the name of God, Olam. Now, I'm a planner, so I have found the hardest part of the past 18 months of COVID has been just the uncertainty of things changing all the time. And the government do their best to lay out a plan, but it just has to keep changing just with the way the virus has gone. And I find that difficult. But change does happen and we can't avoid it completely. But as people, we do benefit from it, and we do need and we do like a certain amount of constancy. So kids, we like to think that they'll have like a guardian or a parent who'll be their constant caregiver. They do best when there's like boundaries put in place. Us adults are a bit the same. We like some stability in our relationships, in our work or our education. And then we cope better with change when we have some constancy in our lives. Well, Isaiah 40 talks about this. Because we read here of the name of God, Olam, El meaning God, and Olam meaning forever or everlasting. Here Isaiah tells us that God is constant, certain, everlasting. And when Isaiah was writing, God's people doubted this. They doubted if God knew about their situation or if he cared about their situation. They said, my way is hidden from the Lord and my right hand is disregarded by my God. Maybe you feel a wee bit like that in your situation today. Maybe it's about the pandemic. Maybe you feel like God has forgotten us or doesn't know about COVID. Maybe it's something more personal. Maybe it's a relationship or an illness. Maybe you're hurting or just feel alone for some other reason. Well, what did Isaiah say to God's people in response to comfort them? What did he tell them about God that would bring them comfort? Well, he says, have you not known, have you not heard? The Lord is the everlasting God, the creator of the ends of the earth. Why was this aspect of God's character going to be such a comfort to God's people then? And why can it be such a great comfort to us? Well, I'm going to point out quickly 3 reasons why I think this could comfort us today to know that God is everlasting. Firstly, because the Lord is the everlasting God, that means he hasn't changed. And so what we know about God, what God showed us, what we saw of God when things were going well those things haven't changed. All the other aspects of his nature, like his love and his peace and his justice, his holiness, they have not changed. These attributes are also everlasting because God is everlasting. But maybe you're thinking, it's just hard for me to see right now God's love because of this thing. Maybe you can't see his justice because of that difficult situation. Well, maybe this name of God, Olam, the fact that God is everlasting, will be a comfort to you because, secondly, we see from this name of God that as he is everlasting, his plans don't change and they don't sit inside the same time scale as us. So let's have a think about it for a moment. God is everlasting, eternal. So think about Abraham and Sarah. They were promised a child by God. Actually, they were promised a large family. And they waited a long time for that promise to be fulfilled. At one stage, or a couple of stages, Sarah tried to take plans into her own hands and she used a maid as a surrogate. But this is not what God had promised. And so she had to keep waiting. She waited even till it seemed like it was too late. But then Isaac came, according to God's everlasting timetable. And when Isaac was born, after that, in Genesis 21, Abraham planted a tree and he praised God using the same name, Olam, the everlasting God. I wonder, had Abraham grasped that God is faithful to his promises? His plans for our good won't be changed and can't be changed. And he can see all of time. He knows what's in our future. We don't. He knows what's best for us. And so he may act in ways that we don't understand right now. He may act to a different time scale than we would have or we would like. But God is the everlasting God. Nothing will change his good plans for us, but we might not always see this big eternal picture as God does. His time scale might be different, and that can be hard. It can be difficult to wait. It can be difficult to understand, just like God's people in Isaiah's time. And so thirdly then, we get some more comfort from this name, El Olam. Because God is everlasting, we can also trust in his promise to give us strength to walk each day through his plan for us, through those good and easier days and through the hard ones. You see, because God is everlasting, Isaiah could go on to comfort God's people by these words in Isaiah 40, verse 28. He says, "The Lord is the everlasting God, the creator of the ends of the earth. He does not faint or grow weary. His understanding is unsearchable. He gives power to the faint, and to him who has no might he increases strength. Even youths shall faint and be weary, and young men shall fall exhausted. But they who wait for the Lord shall renew their strength. They shall mount up with wings like eagles. They shall run and not be weary. They shall walk and not faint." God knows how we feel, and he knows that you might see a long or difficult road in front of you, whatever's ahead. Maybe there's a big mountain, a crisis just coming up. Or maybe it's a pretty normal-ish road that God has asked you to walk, but the path of following God isn't always easy, and maybe the path that some of your friends are on looks fun, maybe looks easier. Well, that's how God's people felt in Isaiah's day too. They felt they didn't have enough strength for this journey that God had asked them to go on. And in one way they were right. They didn't have enough strength in themselves, and neither do we. But with God, who is everlasting, that all changes. Verse 28 there, it says that he does not grow weary, and he gives power to the faint or the weak. Well, how do we receive this power? Maybe you don't feel that power or strength right now. How can you receive that if you are God's child? Well, it goes on to say it's for those who wait on him. Now, waiting doesn't mean sitting. Waiting here means to hope. It means to actively meditate on God's character, his promises, his word. And as we do, we will be renewed, which means to exchange. So we'll take off our tiredness and we'll put on the new power and strength that God, the everlasting God, can give us. Here Isaiah goes on to tell us that we'll fly like the eagles, will run and we'll walk. Wiersbe suggests that maybe it's during the crisis that God will give us time, will give us power to fly. Difficult times, maybe to run, but they'll also have to walk faithfully day by day. Now, some of this can seem daunting, maybe even it feels impossible in your situation right now, but remember El Olam, God is everlasting, so he will be there with his same nature and with his character and attributes that he's always had, and with the same love for you and good plans for you. As you wait on him, he will be there to give you strength to run in the hard times and to keep walking with him in the day-to-day as well. El Olam, God is everlasting, unceasing, dependable, trustworthy, consistent God. Let's wait on him each and every day.